I'm going to show you guys a little simple way to make a shadow puppet stage using a shoebox. So let me show you first what it's gonna look like when it's done. It's just a shoebox. See that? It's part of a shoebox. So I cut the lid off of the shoebox, and I cut one of the sides off of the shoebox, and then I cut a hole into the shoebox, like a big hole. It almost looks like an old style TV screen, right? And then I got a piece of paper, and I just taped it inside of there. Okay, and it's just printer paper. It's really, you don't need to have anything fancy to do this. I used printer paper, and there's other things you can use besides printer paper. And that's it. So this is the stage that you use to do shadow puppets, and I'll just show you what it looks like. What I use to make the shadows is a flashlight, and I put my flashlight into a little stand. And then all I have to do is put the shadow puppet stage down on the desk and the light behind it so that it's shining on there, and I turn it on. And the light shines onto the back of the shadow puppet stage. And now I'm going to turn it so that you can see how it really looks from the front. You have to move your light around and get it positioned just so, right? And then you can see here now, if I put my hand in front of the light but behind the shadow puppet stage, you can see the shadow of my hand, and then I can start to do things. You see? So you could use your hand in front of there and just do a little show, right? But you can also make little puppets out of paper. Paper on a stick, right? I made a little man, and I stuck him onto a stick using tape. I made a hinge, okay? And then when I put him inside and put him in front of the light, but behind the screen, the paper screen that I made, I can move him around. It's really tiny, I know, but you can see the hello. All right, that's how you do it. So, in order to make this little stage, let me turn off this light. Whoa. In order to make this little stage, like I said, I got a shoebox. Now, if you don't have a shoebox around, you can use any kind of box, right? You could use any kind of cardboard box that you have. Ask first. Make sure you ask first. You can use a shoebox or an Amazon box. I'm not advertising Amazon here, but there's a lot of those kind of boxes around. You could use like a cardboard box, right? I'm sure you could find one. And then, so let me just show you how I did it. So what I did, here's the lid from that box that I used, okay? I'm going to use this to make another shadow puppet show right before your eyes. So this one is very similar to what I just showed you. This is the lid from that box, and it just sits there, right? It leans up. There's no top on it, and there's sides and there's a bottom, so it stays, pretty sturdy. So I want to make a hole in the front of this, right? So, and I know that I'm going to use printer paper to make the screen, so I want to make sure I make it the right size. Okay, so I'm going to lay the printer paper onto the cardboard box, and then I'm going to use a marker or a pen or something to just mark where the edges of the paper are. You can use a pencil, then the marks don't show. Because I don't want to make my hole bigger than the paper, right? I want to make the hole smaller than the paper so that the edges of the paper don't show. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to cut some kind of a rectangle or a rounded rectangle or even a circle, or that's like a rounded sort of rectangle or an oval. You want to cut it into the front of this, okay? So it's hard to cut into a cardboard with just scissors, but I'll show you how you can do it. You might want to get help with this part if you need help with the scissors, but I've got my safety scissors here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start cutting from the edge. Sometimes you can poke your scissors in and cut from the middle. Let me try that. I'm going to be really careful though. Let's do it that way. Okay, so I made a little hole in the middle of the cardboard. And then I should draw it first probably so I know what I'm doing, but staying within those marks that I made, I'm gonna make a rough sort of oval shape. That's gonna end up being the screen of my puppet, my puppet stage, okay? So now that I have that shape and I know I'm not gonna be going bigger than the piece of printer paper, I'm gonna start cutting. It's not that easy to cut into cardboard, but especially with safety scissors, but I'm gonna do it. Here I go, cutting around that shape. Now don't worry if it doesn't look that neat, or even if it's a perfect circle or oval, doesn't matter. Just make a hole so that you can start doing the puppet shows. Make it rough at the beginning and then you can make it better later, or just leave it. Just leave it, because sometimes when you make it, it's not a perfect shape, it looks more interesting than if it looks like you made a professional puppet stage. Okay, see? I cut out this. Look, can you see me? Can you see me? Look, it's a hat. It's a hat. Look, you can wear it as a stylish hat until you're ready to make it into a puppet stage. Okay, so I'm gonna wear this hat for a minute. Look, I made it the perfect size for my head. You can have it like that, or you can have it like this. Look, it's a hat. Hello everyone. Do you like my hat? But we're not here to make hats. This is just an example of other thing you could do with a cardboard box. Make a hat. Fix your hair after. And then, now that I have this hole in the box, I'm going to stick the piece of paper into the back. Okay? Just like that. Okay, so into the inside of the box. Now there's a bit of extra paper at the top, so I'm going to cut that off first, so it doesn't stick out. Or you can just fold it over. I'm going to cut it off, and then I'm going to tape this in there. Okay, so lay it down flat, lay it down nice and flat, and get some tape, and then make sure it's pretty centered in there. Make sure it's covering all the edges of the oval that you just cut. And just get some tape. You don't need a lot. Do the corners though, because it'll be better. And tape it in. Soon, you're going to be able to do your own shadow puppet show. Shadow puppet shows are awesome because you can make them easily. You can make a lot of puppets really easily. You can make the stage really easily. And then you can just start making up shows. Do little stories for people, right? You can use stories that you already know, like the Three Little Pigs is a good one, or Three Billy Goats Gruff, or you can make, you can do SpongeBob, right? You can like make a little character that looks like SpongeBob and start doing a SpongeBob show. Or you can mix it up. You can take the Paw Patrol pups and then get SpongeBob and make those two puppets go together in one show, which you really, in reality, aren't allowed to do because of copyright. But when you're doing your own puppet shows, you can do whatever you want. So you can do that. So there, I taped a piece of paper inside of a shoebox, and now it's this puppet stage. Right now, if you don't have printer paper around, don't worry, you can use other things. I tested a few other things before. You just have to make sure the light shines through a little bit. This is a paper towel, so I get my flashlight and I shine it through there and make sure that a shadow will show up through there. That would probably work if you have that around. Other things you can use are, I think, wax paper, which you might use for baking. That might work. Coffee filters. If you flatten out, this is a coffee filter. If you flatten it out, that would probably work, I think. And parchment paper, which is something you also use for baking. This is beige, but you can get it in white too. But you have to look around your house, I guess, and figure out what might work. But I think probably printer paper is the easiest thing and most readily available. Okay, so now we have our little stage, and like I showed you before, you make a little puppet and you use your flashlight. Now, if you don't have a flashlight around, there's other things you can use, like this is a lamp, right? So you can, if if you have a lamp like this, you can bend it down and move it around. This works really well too. Turn it on, and then you can shine that behind your shadow puppet show. It's bigger, right? And it's not as bright, so it doesn't make as good a shadow, and it gets in your way when you're trying to do your puppet show. But sometimes you have to use what you have around, right? You can use a lamp, you can use a flashlight, something like that. Okay, so let me just quickly show you how to make a little puppet to use in your shadow puppet show. This is the guy that I made before, and he's on a stick. He's a little guy on a stick. So if you have any cardboard around, fairly thin cardboard like this, makes this sound. Listen to this. Listen to this sound. That's perfect. If it makes that sound, that's good cardboard, cardstock I think it's called, for making a shadow puppet. So all you have to do is cut out a shape. So I already have this little guy, so let's make him a friend to go with him, go along. So a dog. I'm gonna make a dog for him to hang around with. So I'm gonna draw it first, just because I feel like doing that. But sometimes I just cut, and I don't even make a plan. But I'm gonna make a plan today. I'm gonna draw out this little dog, so it looks a bit like a dog. And if it turns out to not look like a dog, and it looks more like a horse, who cares? Then it's a horse, right? Some people hang around with horses instead of dogs. Okay, so this is gonna be a dog. And then you can have a story. Once you have two characters, that's basically the basics of a story. Lots of things can happen. You start making things up, right? Or like I said before, you can use a story that you already know and make your puppet show about that. There's my dog. There he is. He'll look better when we put him on the puppet stage. And I'm going to use a hole punch just to make little eyes for him. If you don't have a hole punch, don't worry. You can just cut them out. Or just, you don't even really need to do eyes, because these are so tiny. You might not even see them, right? And also, let me just say this. This is a shoe box, right? So you can use any box, like I said. So even if it's a bigger box, right, you can make a bigger thing. You might have to use different kind of paper or tape several pieces of paper together. Also, you can make a tiny one. You could just make a little tiny shadow puppet show, right? So whatever box you have, you can work with that. So now that I have my dog, I'm gonna put him on a stick, and to do that, I have these sticks like this, and you can use a popsicle stick or anything that's around to use as a stick. And I'm gonna tape it to the back of him with just this tape. And I'm gonna put a little tiny piece of tape up and fold it over. Don't have to worry about going in front or being neat about this, because the little details won't really show up in the shadow puppet show. So now he's on a stick, right? And I'm gonna, just to make it a little bit stronger, I'm gonna put a piece of tape on the bottom of the stick. It makes like a little hinge on attaching the stick to the dog. And hopefully that'll stay on there. There we go. There we go. We got a little dog. Woof, 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 bark, 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 woof. Dog sounds. So now we have a guy, a little man, little dog, and we get our stage ready. We got our flashlight. Turn it on. Shine it onto the back of the puppet show, like I said. All right. And then you line it up. Make sure you can see it. And then you put the guys, your puppets, get them one in each hand, put them on the stage. Oh, hi! Where's my dog? Anybody seen my dog? I can't see. The comments things are blocking this. I don't know if you guys can, if that's blocking the comments are blocking the thing. Anyway. Woof, 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 bark, bark, bark. Whoa, hey dog, let's go for a walk. Okay, woof, woof, bark, bark. So that's how you make a shadow puppet show, using cardboard box and some printer paper and some little puppets. Okay?